Hi, I'm Rudy Winston with Canon USA. In this video, we're going to take a look at the custom controls and how you can use them in the EOS 7D Mark II to really fine-tune the camera and get it to respond with certain features the way you like to work with the camera in your hands. The custom controls concept is not new with the 7D Mark II, but it expands that to a considerable degree with some neat new features. With custom controls on this camera, there are 10 different controls throughout the camera, plus the lens AF stop buttons that you have on certain specific super telephoto lenses that can be reconfigured in the custom controls menu in the camera. Now these include the AF on button, the AE lock button, depth of field preview button, lens AF stop buttons on certain specific telephoto lenses, the shutter button, the multi-function button, the main dial, the set button on the back of the camera, the quick control dial, the multi-controller, and the new AF area select lever on the back of the camera. With these, you can totally change the complexion of the camera. You can add features, make certain features immediately accessible because you change what a button can do. Let's take a look at one example, back button autofocus. Now back button AF is certainly nothing new to the 7D Mark II. We've had it in EOS for decades. Back button AF normally allows us to program one of the buttons on the back of the camera to activate autofocus and remove autofocus activation from the shutter button. But where the 7D Mark II changes that is that you can have it switch to another focusing point when you press that back button. You can have the back button completely change how AF operates. You can change from one shot to AI servo with a press of a back button. You can change the focus case in the AI servo AF configuration menu. You can change to a different AF area setting. And really remarkably, you can configure either back button for the register recall shooting function. That means that your choice of exposure changes, metering mode changes, white balance changes, detailed changes to AI servo focusing can change completely by pressing one button. So you can have a back button set up for what we can think of as normal autofocus. You can have a second back button set up that'll completely change the way autofocus works, and in some cases, even the way exposure metering, white balance, and so on are performed. So the camera can be instantly ready to totally change the kind of situations that it's set to shoot in. You can use the back buttons to speed up selection of focusing points. You can jump to a memorized point, or with custom controls, you can go back to the center point if you like. The new AF area select lever on the back of the camera is a significant new feature. Now normally this is going to be used to change the AF area setting. In other words, to go from a single focusing point to spot AF, to AF point expansion, to zone AF, and so on. But you can actually change what that lever does. You can, for instance, have it apply AE lock. If you've looked at what the back button autofocus capabilities are and you've said, hey, these two buttons here, I want to use them for different back button autofocus activation, well, if you still want to apply AE lock, you can move that to the AF area select lever. You can use it for exposure compensation in situations where you may have removed exposure compensation from the quick control dial on the back of the camera. Those are examples of some of the flexibility that custom controls afford you, and it's all in the custom controls menu. The set button can be used to change picture image quality. It can be a shortcut to the picture style menu, to exposure compensation in the manual mode with auto ISO engaged, and it can even be a shortcut to the flash menu. We'll talk more about the flash menu in a moment. Your depth of field preview button can be completely reconfigured to change you, for instance, from one-shot focus to servo. You can change AI servo AF characteristics. So in other words, if you're normally shooting subjects coming at you at a smooth, continuous pace, and all of a sudden you encounter subject movement with a lot of stop-start kind of character to it, you can completely change your focusing case by just squeezing the depth of field preview button. It can jump you to a memorized focusing point. You can lock exposure with it. You can start image stabilization. Even with its ability to lock your dials to prevent inadvertent changes if they're moved, you can temporarily unlock a dial when you have the depth of field preview button configured in such a way to temporarily remove the lock control, and as soon as you take your finger off, the control is locked again. The flash control menu, for anybody who works with EOS speedlights, is a great feature because it centralizes all your flash control in one menu setting on the camera. Now, up to now with an EOS camera, that's meant drilling into the camera menu system to make changes if you're working with wireless ETTL and so on. But now there are two ways that you can instantly access the flash control menu when you're working with an EOS speedlight, either a single speedlight on the camera or with multiple wireless speedlights. I mentioned already that one of them is to configure your set button on the back of the camera to allow instant call-up of the flash control menu. But another one is the little button on the side normally used to pop up your built-in flash. If you've got the built-in flash up already and you're using that, or if you've got a speedlight attached, press that button, you instantly call up the flash control menu. And the cool thing is, if you've already been in that flash control menu making settings, when you press that button again, it jumps you right back to where you last were. So it's a heck of a lot quicker to make changes to things like flash exposure ratios with wireless ETTL and so on than we were before. And with all this customization that's possible, the good news is that all of this can be reset to the factory defaults by simply going into your custom controls menu in the camera and pressing the erase button on the back of the camera. Custom controls is a great way to get this camera so that features you want are available and accessible with the push of a button. They may not be when the camera comes out of the box, but Custom Controls is going to let you tailor it so that they can be ready for you when you need them.